Hello everybody, my name is Cogline3639. Welcome back to another video. Today in this one, it's a list video, my first one. Of course, this is always the original video everyone goes to, but you know, I did want to do something because I do have opinions on what some of the lists are. So yeah, I do have different opinions and stuff like that. And this one is going to be the top 15 cards that will never come off the ban list. I decided to do a top 15 instead of like a top 10 kind of thing, because top 15 gives me more research to do as well. So yeah, without further ado, let's just get straight into the starting off with honorable mentions. Anything that just needs a once per turn effect applied to them, stuff like Match Driver and Self-Destruct. When they are infinite, when they can be used infinitely, it is broken, and the reason why they're currently on the ban list. But again, if they just throw a once per turn effect to Match Driver, I mean, that card is completely trashed. Even if it's like a soft once per turn, completely trashed. Same thing with Substitute, and make it okay, but a once per turn effect again would do just wonders for it. So I don't want to put it on the list and then end up Konami just puts out a errata of the card, giving it a once per turn, and they just put it back to 3. So yeah, anything that just needs a once per turn effect will not be on the list. Next honorable mention on the list is any token generator. We all know why they're on the ban list, is because when the introduction of link monsters, you know, tokens can be used to link off. So that's the reason why most of them are on the ban list, just because they can be used to link into stuff. Like, let's say O-Line was one of the most recent ban cards that got token generators on it, because it was used with the Crystron Link Ross, the Neil Fiber Link Ross combo, and then ability to create tokens was also kind of powerful too. So, you know, that's the reason why it's currently on the ban list. We all know why. It's because of links, so I didn't really want to put it on the ban list. And then the last thing on the honorable mention list is any card that has been banned in the last 5 years. Just because I understand Topological Gumball Dragon is super OP to destroy hands and stuff like that, but just because it's been in the last 5 years, I think the reason why some of these cards are on the list is because of how long they've already been on the forbidden list, and probably will never come off because of that reason, just because of how long it is. So we just don't know. It could evolve to a point where link monsters aren't just a thing anymore. So yeah, I just decided not to include monsters that have been banned in the last 5 years. Now, without further ado, before I go into the list, I do include dates when the monsters did get banned. Will put all the information I found those in the link in the description below, because that's where I got my information from, and I just wanted to make sure anything that any information that I have used in this video is in the link description down below. So yeah, without further ado, let's just get straight into the list. Now I'm up here in the top right to start off. Number 15, Dimension Fusion. Now this is very arguable because, you know, it's been on the ban list for a long time. It was banned in May 2008. Its effect is if you pay 2,000 life points, both players special summon as many banished monsters as possible. Currently in the meta, in the current meta when I'm recording this, there is a lot of cards that do banish a lot, and then them having this card returning their banished monsters would be super overpowered. For them to link off and stuff like that would be super overpowered. I can see this never coming off the ban list. Again, it could, if it gets to a point where actually banishing actually is not that much used anymore, but currently in the current meta, that's nowhere near the case. Look at Virtual Worlds. They can definitely take advantage of this card if it gets limited, at least. So yeah, this is number 15 on the list. Again, arguable, but again, it's number 15. And now at number 14, it is Victory Dragon. This card was limited in September of 2006 and then eventually banned in March of 2007. Its effect, or the effect that got it banned, is basically if this card attacks your opponent directly and reduces their life points to 0, you win the match. That's why it's on the ban list, because you can win the match through it. So the thing is because of the ruling. So people would try to, you know, even if they know they're going to win, they would try to stall out to get Victory Dragon onto the field so they can win the match instead. And also one of those things, there's a ruling where before it can do the direct attack to finish off the opponent can just fold. Easy as that, and then they go to game 2. It causes a kind of thing I heard from judges where they don't want that to happen because, you know, that would create a problem. You know, the person that's using it, if that happens to them, they'll be like, they can't do that when they can. So this is probably just going to stay on the ban list because it can cause just rolling issues that no one wants to deal with. And again, who the hell is going to use this card, even if it gets unbanned? No one, but it could be one of those things. They just throw it in just to see if they can do it. And the match winning is kind of bullshit too. So that's currently why it's on the ban list. And completely understandable, and probably why it won't be taken off the ban. At number 13 is Self-Destruct Button. This card was banned in 2014, and its effect that got it banned is, of course, as both players' life points become 0, basically making it a tie, and that's the reason why it's currently on the ban list. This is the actually most recent card that's been banned that's on this list. It's kind of stupid, to be honest with you. I can completely understand why this card's banned. Konami kind of hates ties, so yeah, it probably will never come off because of that reason. And then you have to be your life points have to be at least a 7,000 difference from your opponents to actually activate this, which is not hard to do, to be honest with you. There's a lot of cards that give your opponents life points and stuff like that. So again, not too much of a problem. Self-Destruct Button does deserve to stay on the ban list forever because it can create ties, and, you know, dealing with people that do that bullshit would be annoying. So yeah, completely understandable. And at number 12, it is Last Turn. This card was semi-limited in July of 2003, a long ass time ago, and then it was banned in October of 2004. The second ever ban list got it, and it's been banned ever since then. And the reason why it's on the ban list currently and probably was not taken off is because in any other result, it results in a draw. That's probably the reason why this card's banned, because again, Konami doesn't like ban or draw, so they don't want to deal with people who try to purposely draw and stuff like that. And especially with Last Turn, that's pretty easily, because its top effect is you only can activate this when your life points are 1,000 or less, which, again, you can inflict damage to yourself pretty easily, so that's not a problem. Select one monster on your side of the field and send all other cards face up on the field and in each opponent's hand to the graveyard, and then your opponent chooses one monster in their deck. They special summon it, and they both attack. Both monsters that were chosen by your opponent and you attack each other. Whichever one survives wins, and then in any other case, as in if it's a tie or both monsters blow each other up, it ends in a draw. So that's kind of the reason. The top effect alone is kind of bullshit, to be honest with you. Very annoying to probably deal with. But again, since it can cause draws, Konami is going to keep this on the ban list because they very much hate that. And at number 11, it's Snatch Steal. This card was limited in October 2002, then banned in September 2006. Back for one more format in March of 2007 as a limited card, and then eventually banned in September of 2007, and so that's where it stayed ever since. This card, and the reason why it's banned, is effect is equipped only to a monster your opponent controls. Take control of that equipped monster. First off, doesn't target. At least I don't think it does. I could be wrong because old card texts are weird and doesn't. Some cards that don't specify doesn't target, does target. Again, they're just really weird. But again, doesn't say target, so I don't think it actually targets. So that gets around a lot of target protection cards. Second off, it's equipped spell. Which is the reason why it's at number 11. You'll say at number 10 what I put at number 10 as well. Just a powerful card. It has a fucking downside apparently. During each of your opponent's standby phases, they gain 1,000 life points. Who gives a shit? I mean, if you have their monster, they can just push for game anyways. So yeah, pretty powerful card. Completely understand why it's currently on the ban list. Again, it could be one of those things they might be able to take it off, but it's been on the ban list for so long, you never know. So that is number 11. And at number 10, I got Change of Heart. This card was banned in April of 2005. Its effect is target one monster your opponent controls. Take control of it until the end phase. Why did I put Change of Heart ahead of Snatch Steal? Here's one thing: you can MST Snatch Steal, and the monster goes back to your opponent. You can't do that to Change of Heart. You can just take control of it, and you can do whatever you want with it. You can tribute it off if you want to. You can synchro summon, link summon. Now you can link summon. So this is a very, very powerful card, especially in today's game where you can just link off with stuff now. So again, that's the reason why I kind of put it ahead of Snatch Steal. I mean, you can basically do the same thing with Snatch Steal. This basically could be, you can switch out Snatch Steal and Change of Heart 10 and 11 perfectly fine and wouldn't really do anything. They're basically the same effect. Snatch Heal has its advantages and Change of Heart has its advantages. So yeah, but this is at number 10. Let's start off with the hand destruction cards that are banned. At number 9, it's Confiscation. It was banned in April of 2005, then limited in October of 2005 for some reason, and then banned finally on September 2000 into September 2007. Its effect is pay 1,000 life points, look at your opponent's hand, select one card, and discard that card. Why is that powerful? Think about it. Today's metagame, people are asking for Smoke Grenade of the Thief to get banned, and that's basically the same thing as this card. And this is just a spell that you can activate during any time, not like Smoke Grenade where you have to destroy Smoke Grenade for its effect. So kind of stupid powerful, and there's a reason why people are begging for Smoke Grenade's ban right now, because it's stupid powerful, and this is just an even more powerful spell than Smoke Grenade that basically had the same effect. So yeah, the pay 1,000 life points, again, is kind of not a cost at this point. Life points are more used as a resource than, as a life counter. So yeah, that is my number 9. And then at number 8, I do got Delinquent Duo. This card was banned in August of 2004, going back for some reason to limited in April 2005, to eventually getting banned again in October 2005 in the very next ban list. You thought Confiscation was powerful and Smoke Grenade's powerful? Dear God, Delinquent Duo is even more powerful. This card's effect is pay 1,000 life points. Remember, the same cost as Confiscation was. Your opponent discards one random card. And if they have another card, they have to discard another card of their choice. Now, you don't get to choose, unfortunately, like Confiscation and Smoke Grenade is, but you get to discard 2 cards, basically, if they have more than 2 cards in their or 1 card in their hand. So the ability just to discard 2 cards is stupid powerful. There's a reason why this is on the ban list. Stupid, 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 and it will probably never come off, and completely so. This card is stupid. And at number 7, I got the Forceful Sentr. This card was limited in October of 2002, eventually getting banned in April of 2005. Its effect is basically like the last 2 have been. Look at your opponent's hand, select 1 card among them, and then return it back to the deck, and then shuffle the deck. This is an old card, so give it some time. Why is this more powerful than Delinquent Duo that can discard 2 cards? Well, that's the thing. It shuffles back into the deck. So, there are some decks out there that can use cards in their graveyard to perfect advantage. That's not a problem for them. So if you discard cards that they can use in the graveyard, that's not a problem to them. This shuffles back into the deck. That's more powerful because most of the cards in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Game, there's only like a handful of cards that can use their effects while in the deck. Most of Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards cannot use their effects in their deck, and that's why it's more, Forceful Sentr is even more powerful. And just a little bonus is you don't need to pay life points to activate this card. So yeah, that is my number 7, and I'm rounding off the the hand destruction card. And at number 6, I got Painful Choice. This card was limited in October of 2002 and then eventually banned in April of 2005. Its effect is select 5 cards from your deck and show them to your opponent. Your opponent selects 1 card among them, add that card to your hand, and then discard the other 4. Now, why is that powerful? Like I said at number 7, there are decks in the meta, or in Yu-Gi-Oh! That can take advantage of their cards being in the graveyard. So their cards being in the graveyard is not a problem for them, to be honest with you. So they could add 1 card to their hand. Think about it. The Diatrons are coming out in Genesis Impact. All their monsters, except for the ritual monsters, of course, can activate their effects in the graveyard. Imagine if they had Painful Choice in their advantage, sending all of those and knowing they're going to be able to use their effects. That's why this card's on the ban list, because it sets up your graveyard, first off. Most decks can actually use cards from their graveyard for advantage. So this card just is advantage all the way. That discard 4 was supposed to be like, a cost, like a disadvantage, but it really isn't anymore because most of the decks now can use their graveyard to their advantage. So yeah, number 6, and probably a good reason it'll probably never come off the ban list ever. And at number 5, I got SpellBook of Judgme. This card was banned in September of 2013. This card single-handedly prevented Dragon Rulers from becoming a tier 0 deck. Think about it. The most overpowered archetype in Yu-Gi-Oh's history was prevented from becoming tier 0 because of a single card. And it is overpowered. I can completely understand why people didn't want to play Dragon Rules, because SpellBook of Judgme existed. You want to know its effect? During the end phase, add spellbook spell cards from your deck up to the number of spell cards activated this turn. Then you can summon one spellcaster type monster whose level is less than or equal to the number of cards added through this effect. You can only activate this effect once per turn, of course. Here's the thing. Spellbooks can activate a shit ton of spells. That is a fucking problem. So basically, at least for spellbooks, you can get at least 4 or 5 ads or 3 to 4 ads. You can get more. These activated, the spellbooks are known for activating a lot of spells, and the reason why Spellbook of Judgme was so broken is because they get to add basically a plus 5, basically, if you can do it, because of how overpowered this card was. So it was a plus 5 for spell cards. Then you could spell summon a spellcaster monster from your deck. Oh boy, this was just a problem card. Completely understand why it's banned. This card came back. I mean, the spellbooks are kind of trash now, but if it came back, dear God, spellbooks would be super overpowered. It would be used in every Dark Magician deck ever in existence right now because of how stupidly overpowered this card is. And completely understand why Dragon Rolls never became tier 0 because of this damn card. And it'll probably always stay on the ban list. This is the only card on the ban list that can only be used in an archetype. Every other card can be used in any deck, and that's kind of the reason why they're banned. This card is the only card on my list that can only be used in spellbooks. And that still makes the list because of how overpowered it is. That's the reason why it's a little lower on the list. It can be definitely higher, but that's the reason why it's a little lower on the list. At number 4, I got Mirage of Nightmai. Dear God. This card was limited in August in 2003 and then banned in April of 2005. The reason why it got banned is because once per turn during your opponent's standby phase, draw until you have 4 cards in your hand. If you do during your next standby phase, randomly discard the same number of cards you drew. Or if you have less cards at that point, then you discard your entire hand. Dear God, this card would be broken today. It was broken back then because you're able to, draw and stuff like that, dig deeper into your deck. But now it'd be even more broken if they unban it. Now the meta is at a point, if this came off the ban list, everyone would use it because of how overpowered it is. It was banned for a good reason back then, but it's staying on the ban list for an even better reason now, because hand traps exist now. So basically, what the gist of this card is you get rid of your hand during your turn, so you can draw 4 cards during your opponent's standby phase, and then, do whatever you want to do with those cards. Now, hand traps exist. So you can lay out your entire hand, and hopefully you can get rid of your entire hand. Draw 4 cards, hoping to draw hand traps. And with 4 cards, and mostly every deck controlling at least 9 to 12 hand traps in their deck, you're guaranteed to at least draw 1. So Mirage of Nightmai is kind of stupidly powerful. And there's also a thing, if you can destroy it before it goes back to your turn, you don't need to discard those cards. So that makes it even more broken, and understandably why it's still on the ban list to this day, and probably will never come off the ban list. And at number 3, I got Graceful Charity, and dear God, this came off and on the ban list so many times. I just decided to put when it finally got banned in March of 2007. Let me just read off from my notes here. Graceful Charity was first semi-limited in July of 2003, going to limited in August of 2003 later that year, and then a year later getting banned in August of 2004, coming off the ban list in April of 2005, going back on the ban list in October of 2005, and then getting limited in April 2006 to eventually getting banned in March of 2007. So yeah, this was kind of fucking everywhere with the ban list. But why was it? Because it's a simple effect, draw 3 cards, then discard 2 cards. Like I said in number 7. Again, some decks don't mind their cards getting discarded. They really don't care. They can use because most likely they can use their cards from the graveyard anyways. So imagine that. You get to draw 3 cards, and you get to choose the 2 cards, by the way. So if you have a 5-card hand, draw 8, you get to choose 2 cards from whatever you want. Dear God, this is fucking broken. And dear, if they limit this card, everyone would use it. Because that draw 3 is amazing, and then discard 2, who cares? Cross Sheep, dear God, Cross Sheep. Like I said, the Diatrons are coming out in about 2 weeks. They use Ritual Monsters. Cross Sheep is heavily played in that deck because it can draw 2 and then discard 2. That's literally one less card than Graceful Charity, and people are going to use it and probably get limited at that point. But the reason why this is probably banned is because it's a spell, so you can activate it during any time. And like I said, people can use their graveyard, so the discard 2 is not a problem for them. So yeah, this will probably never come off the ban list again. If it does, it's probably because Konami wants people to have fun, or they are really stupid and think it's not going to be used, which it is, dear God. Yeah, that's my... And at number 2, it is 6 cents. This card was so overpowered, they actually delayed its release because of how stupidly overpowered it was. It was banned in September 2013, and for some reason limited in November of 2013. I think it came out around in 2013, around September. So I think this is the only card that came out banned because of how stupid powerful it is. For some reason, they limited it in November 2013 to test out to see if it was still broken, which it was. It would still be broken in today's 2020. But I have a better theory. I think it's because they wanted people to have fun with the card. Sell the pack, have people have fun, and then just ban it in the next ban list, which, of course, they did. Banned it in January 2014. What's its effect? So you declare 2 numbers from 1 to 6. Then your opponent rolls a 6-sided dice. If the result is one of those numbers you declared, you can draw that many cards. Otherwise, send the number of cards from the top of your deck to the graveyard equal to that result. So here's the gist of that. You would either declare 5 and 6. That's the only card or 2 numbers you declare. Because again, like I've been saying in this ban list, they think discard is a cost. It's supposed to be a disadvantage. Where Yu-Gi-Oh has evolved to a point where discarding can actually help some decks for some reason. So yeah, so you just declare 5 to 6. If it lands on 5 or 6, you can draw 5 to 6 cards. But if it rolls the number 1 through 4, you can mill 1 to 4 cards from your deck. Again, most decks will take advantage of that. Now, it's on number 2, because number 1, I kind of have to explain. This can definitely be number 1. But the reason why I have number 2, which I'll explain in number 1, is because it's a trap card. So it's inherently kind of slow. But again, in hand trap heavy decks like we see now, again, you can lay out your field and then activate 6 cents during your opponent's turn to, draw 5 or 6 cards, having that potential, or just discarding 1 to 4 cards during your opponent's turn and then having that advantage during your next turn. So, yeah, kind of stupidly broken. Definitely deserves to be number 2. Can definitely be number 1, but I will explain why number 1 is at number 1. And at number 1, it is Pot of Greed, because of course it is. Dear God, this card was limited in May of 2002. Think about it. Yu-Gi-Oh was released in the TCG, at least, in March of 2002. So literally, you were able to play Pot of Greed at full power for only 2 months in Yu-Gi-Oh's TCG's history. So yeah. And it was limited to 1 in May of 2002, and then banned in October of 2005. That was a month, I think 2 months after the first ban list came out. So yeah, and that's where it stayed ever since. What's its effect? Simply draw 2 cards. Now, if you play literally any other card game, you're explaining why is that so powerful. Because in Yu-Gi-Oh, drawing 2 cards can actually make the difference in a game. Most decks now just rely on some 1-card combo, so drawing 1 card is even more powerful too. And also the reason why this will probably never come off the ban list is because of how many... what's that name? How many other types of cards that have similar effects to this? I forgot what it's called. Retrain cards. How many retrains of this card has? Think about it. Pot of Desires, Pot of Avarice, Pot of Duality, and I think I'm missing like 5 other pots right now, and there's 1 more coming out in Blazing Vortex. So yeah, dear God, this is stupid. There's been so many retrain cards of this that they really have no point of taking it off the ban list. The only reason why they're going to take it off the ban list is if they wanted people to have fun. And that's it. Think about it. Pot of Desires and Pot of Avarice is one of the most played spell cards in the game because it has that draw 2 effect. And it inherently has a disadvantage of banishing 10 cards face down if it's Pot of Desires, or banishing 1/4 of your deck face down, or banishing half of your extra deck face down to draw 2 cards and it's still one of the most played cards or played spell cards in the game because it has that draw 2 effect. That's how overpowered it is. This was only going to come off the ban list, like I said, if Konami just wants people to have fun for a fucking limit list or something like that. Just limit this to 1. People will use it and probably get banned in the next format. So if 1 is to, let people have fun, or 2, Yu-Gi-Oh! Evolves to a point where drawing 2 cards just doesn't matter anymore, which probably will never happen. It's been 20 years since this card, or nearly 20 years since this card has been released. And it's still banned because of how stupid powerful it is. Drawing 1 card in today's game is still pretty good. Upstart is limited to 1 because of that reason. So yeah, drawing 2 with no inherent disadvantage is going to be broken, and the reason why it's at number 1. Again, you can make the case for 6 cents being at number 1, but the reason why I have Butto Greed is because of how many retrains already exist, so they have no point to fucking take this off the ban list because there's so many retrains of the card, so why would they? So yeah, that's it for the list. I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you did, leave a like and subscribe for more content, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.